What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. So let's talk about some baseball real quick. Today we're going to talk about the MLB playoffs. We are going to do some game picks, and I have my NHL preview for you guys today. So Phillies absolutely demolished the Arizona Diamondbacks 10-0 in Game 2 of the NLCS. They are just rolling. Aaron Nola pitched a great game. Of course, the Phillies offense comes alive as usual. Bryce Harper with a big game. Schwarber with a home run. Trey Turner had a home run, I believe. He contributed. So Phillies now up 2-0. They've pretty much dominated Arizona so far in this postseason, or in this series rather. And now it goes back. We're gonna go back to Arizona now. So now Arizona, obviously, they're gonna have to grab one. And yeah, obviously they need to send it back to Philly. So I mean, Arizona could. I mean, they hadn't lost the game until this series either. But the Phillies are just a better baseball team. They have an incredibly loaded line. They got a really good rotation. Zach Wheeler is a stud. Aaron Nola's been pitching really well. Talon Walker is very good. Even Ranger Suarez is underrated, so they got a really good rotation. They got an underrated rotation. The moment isn't great, but also they get so much run support. Their starting pitching gets them a lot of innings, so they can kind of get away. I mean, they didn't have a great bullpen last year, either heading into the postseason, and they went to the World Series. And it looks like that's what's going to happen again. And tonight at 8 o'clock, this should get out before 8 o'clock. Sometime you guys are seeing this, the game should not have started yet. Texas Rangers, Houston Astros. Of course, Texas up 2-0, going to game 3. Now it goes back to Texas. That's obviously a big advantage for Texas. Obviously, Houston really hasn't been great at home this year. And they've won a lot, so they had a good year. They were actually honestly better on the road than they were at home this year, and they've always been great on the road in the playoffs during this whole run they've had. So, series isn't over yet, but if Texas wins tonight, they'll have a very firm grasp on the series, up 3 with 2 more games at home before it even has a chance to go back to Houston. So that's the MLB playoffs. Well, now I'll talk about the AP rankings for college football this week. We have Georgia and Michigan remaining in the top 2. Ohio State is ranked 3rd. Florida State's ranked 4th. Washington is now ranked 5th in the country. Got Oklahoma at 6th. To move down 1 spot. They're still having a great year. Penn State is at 7th. They remain at 7th. Texas is at 8th. Oregon at 9. UNC moves into the top 10. Shout out to North Carolina. Drake Mason playing really well. Alabama at 11. We're going to stay up to 12th. Ole Miss at 13th, Utah at 14th, Notre Dame shoots back up to 15th, Duke at 16th, Tennessee at 17th, USC plummets to 18th after a loss to Notre Dame. As you at 19th, Missouri is 20th, Louisville plummets to 21st. Still, did not think they'd even be ranked this year. Air Force is now ranked. Air Force is ranked 22nd in the country. Tulane at 23rd, Iowa at 24th, and then ranked at 25th is UCLA. Those are the top 25. Let's go to our game picks now for college football. Our first game is a big one. Number 7, Penn State against number 3, Ohio State. 2 undefeated teams. Obviously, Big Ten rivalry. 2 top 7 teams in the country. I am going to take Ohio State. I have some concerns about them. I don't think Ryan Day is a very good coach. Kyle McCord, he's been fine. He threw for over 1,600 yards, 11 touchdowns, only 1 pick. He's done, he's got a great. I don't think he's that great. I think just the offense he's in is just really, really phenomenal. Obviously, you have Marvin Harrison Jr., who through 6 games has 31 catches for 604 yards and 5 touchdowns. He will be a top 3 pick at the very worst in this upcoming draft. He's going to be amazing, generational talent. Penn State's been good this year, but I'm taking Ohio State. Penn State really, they just, Ohio State seems to always overpower Penn State. So I will take the Buckeyes in that one. I still don't think they're beating Michigan this year, but I think they beat the Nittany Lions. Number 6, Oklahoma against UCF. Oklahoma should roll. They're favored by 19 points. By the way, Ohio State's favored by 4. I think they'll clear that for sure. Oklahoma is favored to beat UCF by 19. I think they cover that. UCF isn't great. They're 3-3. You got number 22 Air Force against Navy. Whenever you have games between, like, two teams like this, it's usually pretty close, but Air Force is very good this year. They're favored by 10.5. Even though it tends to be pretty close, usually, like, defensive struggles, I feel like, but Air Force is very good this year, so they should definitely win that game. Number 9, Oregon facing off against Washington State. I'm going to take Oregon. Oregon's really good. Yesterday, they lose to Washington, but Washington, if you ask me, might be one of the 4 best teams in the country. They're ranked, I think, 5th right now, but Oregon's also really good. Bo Nix has been phenomenal. He's run for over 1,700, almost 1,800 yards, 17 touchdowns against 1 pick. So he has been absolutely phenomenal this year. That offense is really good. They're well-rounded. They're really good in the trenches. They're a really good team, Oregon. Like, every year, Oregon, they're rolling, and then they get to the end of the year, they lose, like, some random game. They'll lose, like, one game to, like, some top 5 teams. Like, all right, give them a pass. It was a hard-fought battle. It was a really good game. They faced a better team. Then they lose some random game to some other bum team. But I don't think Washington State is that squad. I'm taking Oregon. Might be a little closer than the 20 point. The line's at 20. Maybe a little closer than that, but I'm taking Oregon. All right, 3:30. Number 17, Tennessee against number 11, Alabama. We all remember last year, Tennessee's upset over Alabama. The fans literally grabbed the goalpost and carried it down the street. It was an incredible game. I am going to take Alabama. They're not as good as they usually are. They're not very good offensively, but they're still good. They're the best team in the country. Tennessee isn't phenomenal. Joe Milton, I had a lot of high hopes for going into the year. He has not impressed me really at all. I've been a little disappointed in him. Their offense isn't the same. Obviously, Hendon Hooker goes into the draft. He probably would have won the Heisman if he was healthy last year. Jalen Hyatt had a phenomenal year last year. He got drafted as well. So, I'm going to take Alabama. I think they get revenge from last year. Number 20, Missouri against South Carolina. I'm taking Missouri. South Carolina is not very good. I mean, Shane Beamer, their head coach, he broke his foot. He kicked something he shouldn't have in frustration. That sums up South Carolina's season, basically. I'm taking Missouri. Got number 23, Tulane against North Texas. I'm going to take Tulane. I think Tulane had a phenomenal year last year, being a top 10 team and winning a bowl game. Not as good this year, but still very good. They'll beat North Texas. Number 24, Iowa against Minnesota. This could be an upset because Iowa is so bad offensively. But I think they sneak past Minnesota. Minnesota isn't great. Number 6, Texas against Houston. To me, 8 Texas. Texas ranked 8th in the country. I'm taking Texas. Texas is a bit of a fraud. Oklahoma is a very good team. But I still thought that going in, they were better. The only team they had really beaten was Alabama. Who, of course, they were really motivated to be after they kind of got screwed last with Quinn Ewers getting hurt and some bad refereeing. And how bad Alabama's offense is this year. On that, they hadn't really beaten anybody, and they played Oklahoma, and they lost. But Houston's not very good. I'll take Texas. Virginia against number 10, North Carolina. Definitely UNC. Virginia is awful. Absolutely atrocious. Drake May is really good. He's thrown for over 1,900 yards, 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I will take the University of North Carolina. If they play Florida State in the ACC Championship this year, that could be a really good game. Number 13, Ole Miss against Auburn. I will take Ole Miss. Auburn isn't great. I think it'll be a close game. I'm not sold on Ole Miss, but I'll take Ole Miss in that one. Number 2, Michigan against Michigan State. It's going to be a blowout. Michigan State is in flux. That team is awful. Absolutely atrocious. Their head coach was fired a few weeks ago for some really awful off-the-field stuff. Got fans clamoring to hire Urban Meyer, driving me crazy on Twitter. Michigan by a lot. I know it's a rivalry game. Obviously, Michigan State, but it's going to be ugly. Michigan State is awful. Number 16, Duke against number 4, Florida State. So an ACC battle. I think this is going to be a very good game. I think Duke is very good. Mike Elko has done a phenomenal job since taking over there. But I am going to take Florida State. Florida State, I'm not sold on them. They haven't really had a convincing win this year. Like, they only beat Boston College by a field goal. So they worry me. I like Jordan Travis a lot. He's playing well. Keon Coleman is playing really well also, his top receiver. That connection's been deadly. So I think it's a close game, but I'm taking Florida State. Now, Army is number 19 LSU. I'm taking LSU. Army just going to be overmatched in that one. Number 14 Utah against number 18 USC. So a very good game. USC, I told y'all, they were going to do it at some point. They were going to lose some random game. They're going against Notre Dame, struggling Notre Dame team. Was coming off a really tough double-digit loss to Louisville. And then they just get blown out of the building. Just somehow. Caleb Williams had his first bad game. He threw 3 picks last week. The Heisman favorite, and the projected number 1 pick in this year's draft. I'm going to take USC in this one. Utah's is good as well. They to always be solid. They're ranked a little higher, but I think USC grabs this one. I think Caleb Williams bounces back. Arizona State against Washington, who's now ranked 5th in the country. Washington by a lot. Washington is so good. I think they'll be in the college football playoff. I don't know if anyone's going to beat Georgia this year, so they'll be there. I think Michigan, Ohio State, the winner of that game will definitely be there. I think it'll be Michigan. And then you think, all right, the loser of Ohio State, Michigan might still be there. And then the last 2 spots goes to possibly the loser of that game, Florida State and Washington, maybe Oklahoma. I think it's gonna be Washington. I think Washington grabs one of the 2 spots, and then down to the loser of Ohio State, Michigan, and then Florida State. I lean Ohio State or Michigan. Loser of that game, they probably both make it again. Arizona State is absolutely horrible. Washington State should roll on that one. And then number 25 UCLA against Stanford. Stanford come off a huge 29-point comeback win against Colorado. But UCLA, they're solid this year. Stanford still is not a good team. That was more of a choke job on Colorado's part, so I think UCLA will win that game. Those are my game picks for college football. For the NFL, let's go to the NFL. Let's do game picks for the NFL. And then tomorrow, or maybe possibly on Friday, because Thursday is when I did the Fire Squad podcast from my class with Justin, Ashton, and Lamb. I'm gonna go a little more into some other news with the NFL, but we're just gonna do game picks today. I went to my intro preview. We're already like a week into the season. Everyone's already played 3 or 4 games. I want to get that out to you guys. I keep pushing it off. Things keep coming up, so I want to get that to you guys. But Thursday Night Football tomorrow night, Jaguars and the Saints. I'm gonna take Jacksonville. I don't know why the Saints are favored by a point. It's only a point, but why? Jacksonville. They've played very well defensively this year. Offensively, they got to a bit of a slow start, but now they're starting to find themselves. Lawrence is now playing really well. They got a lot of nice weapons over there. Travis Etienne's playing great. I'm going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars over the Saints, which is as mid as it comes. All right, Sunday at 1 o'clock, we got the Raiders and the Bears. It's a god-awful game. I don't know why that was on the schedule, but I'm taking the Raiders. I don't think DJ Moore's playing. He's not expected to play. He's doubtful with a dislocated thumb. Not sure when he's coming back. That team is absolutely awful. Their backup is Tyson Bagent, who, if you watch that Bears-Viking games, holy God, he is bad. He's an undrafted Division II player who beat out Nathan Peterman for the backup job in camp or in preseason. The Raiders aren't great, but they're somehow going to be 4-3. They've played such an easy schedule. They had the Packers in god-awful Monday Night Football game who were struggling. They played the Patriots, who are awful. Now they get the Bears, who are probably a bottom 3 team in the league. Their schedule is so easy. I'm telling you, they're gonna go 8-9 and think, oh, we made progress. Let's bring back McDaniels, and when you realize they play such an easy schedule. Well, the AFC West has some Chiefs is not good. The Chargers are extremely mediocre. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. The Raiders aren't good. The Broncos are god-awful. They put the Broncos week 1 as well. They suck. They're a bottom 3 team in the league, I think. But Tyson Bagent, the Raiders defense isn't good, but he's awful. Browns against the Colts. Bad news. Anthony Richardson is out for the season, so that's a shame. He's got to make sure he protects himself more, but he looks really good, so hopefully he goes out next year and balls out. Minshew, he struggled last week. I think he might struggle again. Browns, I think, take this game. Colts last week they're 3-3. Minshew, so will start for the rest of the year, it seems. He threw 3 picks last week. Cleveland's got a great defense that's fallen on the radar. They are one of the best defenses in the league. They're massively improved from last year. I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to play. He might not even practice this week. He's not sure if he's going to practice or play. So I think it'll be PJ Walker. PJ Walker's funny. He's so bad. But, he just, once in a while, he's bad, but, not bad enough where, if the team around him is really good, and the team around plays really well, and they play a opponent that isn't that great, he's just, competent enough to just squeak by. Last week, he was 18 34 for 180 or 190 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He didn't play well. Not at all. But Kareem Hunt stepped up. Amari Cooper stepped up. The defense stepped up. 49ers didn't play. Also had some injuries. I don't think the Browns are going to do much without Nick Chubb. Not sure how much Jerome Ford could do. Kareem Hunt, they played well last week. I don't know how much he really has left. I mentioned he struggled last week. They're still, Jonathan, I'm sure, will be more involved, but he's still not probably at full strength yet. So I am going to take the Browns. Bills and Patriots. This might be ugly. New England is awful. Mac Jones is awful. He's got no protection. The Bills are going to get a lot of pressure on him. Mac's going to make a lot of mistakes. It's not going to be pretty. Josh Allen's going to have too much time to throw. Bills, I think, covered 8.5. I know Belichick has historically been good against the Bills, but they're just so bad this year, and I don't think he just doesn't do it anymore. Bill Belichick, that is. Well, I'll take the Bills in this one. Commanders against the Giants. I think it'll be a close game. I'm taking the Commanders. They're good. Tyrod Taylor, I don't care who starts. They're going to get eaten alive. Giants have the worst offensive line in the league. Not sure if Andrew Thomas comes back, or their center, John Michael Schmitz, or whoever the hell they had playing right tackle. I don't know who's playing right tackle. No, it's Evan Neal. Whoever the tackles are, besides Thomas, they aren't good. They have the worst offensive line in football, especially if Andrew Thomas isn't there. Saquon was fine last week, but still, the explosiveness wasn't there. Not sure if it will be against the Commanders, who can't stop the run. I think their defense will get tired out. They played really well last week. I think it'll be a really close game, but I think Washington squeaks by. The Giants might be the worst team in football. They are god-awful. Falcons and Bucks in the NFC South matchup, so, Desmond Ridder, 2 weeks ago played well. Last week did not. Bucks been a little better than expected. I'm actually going to take Atlanta in this one. Bijan is a stud. I know Ridder is awful, but I'm going to take Atlanta. Baker Mayfield, I know he's played better than he has in past years. He hasn't been bad. His first couple of games, he played pretty well against some bad opponents. He wasn't great against Philly. In the last couple of games, he really hasn't been that good. He's not a good quarterback. I'm going to take Atlanta to squeak by what should be a neck-tight game between two, teams that are just very, very just mid, but they're both in the division, right there in the division, because that division is awful. Lions and Ravens. This should be a good game, but I'm going to take the Lions, actually. I know they're dealing with some injuries. I don't think Dave Montgomery plays. He's been one of the league's best backs. He's been phenomenal. But I do think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to play, and I like him a lot. Now he'll have a chance to get some more touches. I think he'll show them something. They'll, of course, I'm on Ra. I think, I'm sure he'll play. And that Ravens offense is really struggling right now, so I'm gonna take the Lions. They are for real this year. Even though the Rams are 4-2, I'm not sold on them at all. Steelers, Rams. I'm gonna take. This is a tough one. This is never into the 405 games. The Steelers are so bad offensively, but they're really good defensively. The Rams been a little better than I thought. I think Pittsburgh actually squeaks by. They Steelers can't really run the ball, and their offense is awful. They got the worst offensive corner in football in Matt Canada. But the Rams, I know their offense is very good. They got a lot of really good weapons. Cooper Kupp has looked the same. He picked up where he left off. But they won't have Kai Williams the next couple of weeks, so I don't know who's they have run the ball. After they trade Cam Akers to Minnesota. Now Kai Williams is injured. They've been making moves. Plucking guys off practice squads, and they've been trying to make some moves to bolster their running back depth. I think they brought in maybe Royce Freeman. So I'm not, I think Zach Evans is probably their top back. So I don't know if they'll be able to run the ball. And the Steelers got a really good defense. So I'm going to I think the Steelers squeak by. And Cardinals Seahawks, definitely taking Seattle. Arizona's a little better than expected. But, Dobbs, whose first, 4 games he played really well last 2 games, has been kind of more of the same stuff that we're used to. Seattle's a really good team. So I'll take Seattle. Even though they're 3-2, I think they're a little better than the record shows. They came out slowly in that first game against the Rams. So I'll take Seattle. 425, Packers-Broncos. Good God, that's a horrible game. I'm taking Green Bay. Denver is atrociously bad. Trust me, Jordan Love sucks. He's awful. But, Aaron Jones, I'm not sure if he'll play. I think he'll play in this game. I think they just brought in James Robinson so I'm not sure what that means. They're going to try to run the ball some more. That also might mean Aaron Jones might not play, so they're bolstering their depth. But Denver's so bad. Their Green Bay defense, they've been not as good as I thought they would be. Joe Barry, I don't think is a very good defensive coordinator. Packers are kind of a mess, but the Broncos are just god awful. Russ Wilson has nothing left. Packers, I think we got a lot of pressure on them. The Packers' offense isn't good. They got a good matchup against the Broncos' defense, so I'll take Green Bay. Also, 425, Chargers-Chiefs, definitely Kansas City. That Chargers defense is terrible. Kansas City is going to light them up. Chiefs defense has actually played really well this year, so Chiefs, I think they overpower the Chargers as they usually do, especially at Arrowhead. Chargers are not going into Arrowhead. So they fire Brandon Staley and make Kellen Moore the interim head coach. Chargers aren't going anywhere. Now the Kellen Moore will be that phenomenal either, but it's better than Brandon Staley. Sunday Night Football, Dolphins-Eagles. Should be a phenomenal game out for the 2 Alabama boys, Tua and Jalen Hurts. Hurts much more briefly because he transferred to Oklahoma. That's where his college career really started. The 2 quarterbacks obviously are familiar with each other. 2 really good teams. Eagles come off their first loss to the Jets. Jalen Hurts really struggled. Both at 5-1. I'm going to take Philly. Hurts hasn't been phenomenal here with throwing the ball, but the secondary Miami I don't think it's that great. I think it's a good matchup for the Eagles. Jets, although it didn't have their top 2 corners last week, including an All-Pro and Sauce Gardner, they do have very good depth at that position. Even if Brandon Echols also out, Michael Carter is a pretty good player. At safety, Jordan White has been playing really well this year, so. And that front 7 for the Jets is no joke. Still playing. It's got a much better matchup. I'm not sure if they don't have Darius Smith, they'll definitely help them against the Dolphins offense. By the way, Tyreek Hill might be the MVP. He's already got 814 receiving yards in 6 games. He's less than 200 from a foul. He's on pace for over 2,300. The record by Calvin Johnson was 1,964. So he might legitimately break it this year. He's got 42 grabs, 814, and 6 scores. Tua's been playing really well, but I'm taking the Eagles. Monday Night Football, 49ers against the Vikings. I'm taking the Niners. I know they got some injury concerns, but, McCaffrey got hurt last week's game, as did Deebo Samuel, even Trent Williams did, but I think they're all going to play. Based on what I'm hearing, I think McCaffrey plays. I also think Deebo plays, and I even think Trent plays. If so, the Vikings defense is bottom 5 in the league. The team isn't very good. Niners are going to light them up. Of course, no Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins is going to be under pressure all day. 49ers should roll. They're favored by 7, and I think they cover. All right, let's get into my hockey preview. Very, very excited for this. Been excited for it for a couple of weeks now. I'm finally able to do it. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go team by team. As for the order, I'm gonna predict the standings, and then I'm gonna tell you why I have each team where I have them seated, and then we will go from there. All right. So yeah, I'll say like, all right, first me I have this team, and I'll explain why. I'll do that for 12 conferences, team by team, and then I'll pick who I have winning the Stanley Cup. Then we will close this thing out. Okay, Eastern Conference. I had the Carolina Hurricanes win the Eastern Conference. I have them finishing first in the Eastern Conference. They're very good defensemen. They got a great set of defensemen. They always have. With Jakub Slavin, Brett Pesky, Brady Shea over there. Even Brent Burns is still good. Their goaltending's very good. Frederik Andersen's really good. He's always hurt, but they have a very good depth in net this year. Antti Ron's a very good goalie. He's a really good backup, who can step in and be like a 1A if need be. They got that one kid, I can't pronounce his name, Payo or whatever his name is, played a little bit last year in the minors. I think will be a great goalie if given the opportunity. Still really young. They got really good goaltending, good defensively. Every year they seem to, the question is, do they have enough goal scoring? And I like their offensive attack this year. They also got a lot of young players, Tuzo Teravainen, Fernando Smeshnaho is a stud. Svechnikov's a stud. And they got a lot of good young guys over there. They got Seth Jarvis, who I think is a budding star. I like Jesper Kotkaniemi. I like Martin Necas. They bring in Michael Benting. It brings out some toughness. He's a good player. Jesper Foss is a good penalty killer. So they got a really good squad. Rod Brind'Amour is a great coach. I got Carolina finishing first in the Eastern Conference. And last year, like every year they get overhyped to go into the playoffs. But last year they were in the Eastern Conference Finals. They swept by Florida, an 8 seed, but Florida was also on a great run. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. In second, I have the New Jersey Devils. As much as I hate them, they have a phenomenal squad this year. They can score if anybody. Timo Meier's a stud. Jack Hughes is one of the league's best players. They got Nico Hischier, who's really good. Jesper Bratt's a great player. Andre Palat was a nice addition last year. Speaking of additions, they had a great offseason bringing in Tyler Toffoli, who's a great player. He'll score 30 goals for me. Eric Holla is a good player. They got a nice head defenseman. Jack Hughes' brother, Luke Hughes, who debuted in the playoff last year. His first full year this year. They have John Marino. Dougie Hamilton's a great player. I love Jonas Siegelhofer. The one thing I'm a little worried about is the goaltending. Vitek Vanecek is okay. But Akira Schmidt's a young goalie who played really well in the playoffs last year for the most part. He was great against the Rangers in that first round after he took over, I think, in like game 3. Wasn't as great in the second round. In that second round series. But against Carolina, losing in 5 games. That being said, I do look the talent on the kid. I think he's very good. Even if, at first they're kind of split. I think eventually Lindy Ruff will realize this kid, he just gives the best chance to win by mid-season at least. He'll have a pretty firm hold on that starting goaltender job. The Devils are in win now mode. They have enough young talent. They can afford to give up prospects and draft picks. Maybe go and get a goalie at the trade line. There may be a couple that are going to be available. The big one was going to be Connor Hellebuyck in Winnipeg. They just gave him a big contract extension, so he's off the market. Could a guy like UC Soros, who's free agent, he's coming up. Could he maybe, be a name that New Jersey looks to move? Maybe you package Schmidt in the pick for him, and then you have Vanecek back him up or something. You never know, but they got a great team. And third, I have the Toronto Maple Leafs. Look, I don't think the Maple Leafs will win a playoff series this year. Maybe they'll win one. They get a good matchup like they did last year against Tampa. But I don't think they win a playoffs here, but in the regular season, as always, they'll be very good. They're like the Dallas Cowboys. They are loaded offensively. Austin Matthews is absolutely amazing. I know some guys, people don't like him, and they think he's kind of arrogant. I don't really have a problem with him. He's a phenomenal player. Probably one of the 5 best hockey players in the league. One of the 3 best goal scorers in the league. Mitchell Marner is great. John Tavares is a little older, but still very good. Tyler Bertuzzi they brought in. He's a really good player. They have William Nylander. They have a young guy in Matthew Nyes who's really good. The issue is defense and goaltending. Defensively, Morgan Riley's really good. Brody's good. They bring in John Klingberg. Giordano isn't the same player, but he's still good. Still a good leader. Can still play a little bit. I don't really like their goaltending. Ila Samsonov is all right. He's an okay goalie. My issue is their backup is Joseph Woll, who's just very inexperienced. So Samsonov struggles. When gets hurt. Ken Woll hold in the fort. I don't know if he can. Obviously leaves. They may have changed, letting go of their GM Kyle Dubas. They bring in Brad Treveling, long-time Calgary GM. I'm not sure if that's gonna work out. He made a couple of moves in the offseason. Obviously, bringing in John Klingberg, bringing in Tyler Bertuzzi, locking up Austin Matthews, Ryan Reeves. They brought in to have with some toughness, but I don't really think they're having a deep playoff run. But in the regular season, they should be very good. In 4 or 5, I have my New York Rangers. Coming up a first round playoff exit. They were in a bit of a tough spot. It's because of the cap crunch. But I do love their team. Zibanejad is phenomenal. Panarin is phenomenal. Kreider's a great player. They got Vintage Trocheck is very good. Goodrow's a good penalty killer, good two-way player. I love the defenseman. Fox is an absolute stud. I like Lindgren. I love Keandre Miller. Trouba's a good player. Igor Shesterkin is one of the best goalies in the league. He's absolutely amazing. They made a couple of small moves that I like. I like them bringing in Blake Wheeler, who's a little older, not the same guy, he once was. But he's a good leader. He's a captain in Winnipeg for a long time. He's a leader who's still a decent player. Nick Bonino, of course, at the end of his career, but he's been around a long time. A lot of playoff experience. He's still an okay player. Another guy you bring in to get some leadership. They bring in Tyler Pitlick to help their bottom six. I like them bringing Eric Gustafsson. He's a solid, he's a solid defenseman to help the third pairing. So, a couple of things I'm worried about. They need these young guys to step up. Alexis Lafreniere was the first overall pick a few years ago. I think 3 years ago. He struggled in his rookie year. 2 years ago was very good. Had 20 plus goals. Was really good in the playoffs. Last year, really wasn't great. Was invisible in the first half of the year. A little better in the second half, but still not good enough. Was invisible in the playoff, but the entire team was. That's like Chris Kreider, and even Kreider had a couple of games where he went missing. But he needs to step up. He's still really young, still 21, 22, but it's his 4th year in the league. He was a generational prospect. We haven't really seen it yet. It's time for him to step up. Kaapo Kakko was 2nd overall pick 4 years ago. He's he's been a bit of a bust so far. He's been good, but he hasn't been great. He's had some injury concerns. Seems like whenever he gets off to a hot start, he gets hurt, misses a couple of weeks, comes back, and and it isn't quite the same. They need him to step up. They have Philip Healer to step up. When he first came up through their system, I thought he was going to be a star. And he's flashed, but every year he comes up, he gets off to a great start, and then he gets hurt. Misses a few weeks, comes back, and just kind of Those 3 young kids to step up. I've been saying it for a couple of years. If those 3 kids step up and play they're up to their full potential, the Rangers are one of the 5 best teams in hockey and a Stanley Cup contender. It might come out of the Eastern Conference. If not, Rangers still a good team, but they're a 4 or 5 in the East. They might win a series, but probably no further. That's that's what I think. Maybe gets to the conference final, but I doubt it. They're still a top 10 or 12 team in the league. They'll be in the playoffs. Can probably win a playoff series, but no further. Need those kids to step up. Only concern I have is Jonathan Quick is their backup. I don't know if he has anything left. He didn't look good in preseason, so I'm not sure how much he has left. I do think he can be a serviceable backup. He's won't to play it that much with Igor. Igor once in a while does get hurt, and he usually has he misses a week or 2 a season with an injury. In the past, Alexander Georgiev, who wasn't that great in the Rangers, he's been much better in Colorado, was able to hold down the fort. When Strickland was injured. I think the main problem with Georgiev, like he's a guy that he needs to play. He's just not a backup. He's a starter. Or he just needs to play. So he needs to get into a rhythm, and he wasn't able to do that because of how good Strickland is. So he was just never able to get into a rhythm, and they always. So that's why he would always struggle mightily with the Rangers. But whenever Strickland, if Strickland was missed 2 weeks and Georgiev had to start, he would actually play well. And of course, last year he goes to Colorado as a starter and had a great year. Was one of the probably 10 or 12 best goalies in the league. Hoping Quick can at least be a serviceable backup. Hopefully he doesn't need to play more than 25 games this year. But of course, he still needs to play well, but they need Strickland healthy for the playoffs. I have them in fourth. In fifth in Eastern Conference, I have the Pittsburgh Penguins. Their age is a concern to me. Crosby is much older. Malkin is much older. Letang is much older. Jake Guentzel, who's a phenomenal player. He's their best player. He's hurt to start the year. But I do like their team. They have Ricardo Rakell is a very good player. Brian Rutsker good. They brought in Riley Smith. Lars Eller is a nice player. The trade for Erik Karlsson's a huge move. He's, gave up a lot for him. And he's on a big contract. And he's also a little older. They brought in like 32, 33-year-old to an already old roster. But he's still one of the best defense. He's coming off an historically great year last year. He's the best defenseman in hockey. That I do think it's a good move. They bring in Ryan Graves. So I do think Kyle Dubas, who they bring in as their GM, overall did a great job. The concern outside of the age is the goaltending. For starter, Tristan Jarry, who's a very good goalie, probably top 10 in the league, but he's always hurt. Can never stay healthy. The backup is Alex Nedeljkovic. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. He's really not very good. He had some talent in Carolina. Then he went to Detroit. He was awful. They weren't good defensively, but still, the dude was awful. And he's your backup. If Jarry gets hurt, I'm not sure if he'll be able to hold down the fort. Last year, they kind of had enough. They didn't. 2 years ago, actually, they have enough, even with Jarry battling injuries. I forgot who their backup was. And they also had Louis Domingue, who's was their third goalie who stepped in that series against the Rangers and played well, though the Rangers didn't win the series. He stepped in and played very well. But last year didn't really have the depth in them. I don't know if they do it this year. So age and injuries are a concern for this team. I think they are massively improved from last year when they missed the playoffs. For a team as old as they are, does losing in the first second really mean a whole lot? No. But I think they're going to be a 5 in the East and make the playoffs. The 6th seed, I have a Tampa Bay Lightning. This Tampa Bay team isn't the same team that 2 years ago was in their third straight cup final, and 3 years ago won their second straight. But they still have a great team. Brain Point's a stud. Nikita Kucherov is amazing. Stamkos is a stud. Cirelli, Connor Sheary. I think Terrence Janot will be a factor this year. They gave about like 5 draft picks for him last year. Victor Hedman is still a top 5 defenseman in hockey. I think Sergachev's very good. But they've lost a lot of pieces along the way because of the cap crunch. Obviously losing Andre Palat last year to the Devils last year definitely hurt. And they're not as good defensively anymore. And not having Vasilevsky, who might be the league's best goalie for the first 2 months of the year, is gonna hurt. Their starter is Jonas Johansson. His backup is Matt Tompkins. Johansson's very inexperienced. I don't know who Matt Tompkins is. So, the defense and goaltending is a concern. But I think because of how experienced they are and how good they are offensively, I think they'd be able to just, hold the fort enough to the point that once they get that Vasilevsky back, he'll obviously elevate them. I don't think Vasilevsky is quite the same. He's a little bit older, but he is still one of the best goalies in all of hockey. At least top 5, if not top 3. I do think both Igor Shesterkin and Ivo Sorokin are better than him. But I don't know if it's another guy. He's still a phenomenal goalie. So, unless Johansson is an absolute turnstile and like minor league level, I think they'll score enough goals to where they could be in the playoff hunt. I mean, last year they were on the outside looking in for a while. Then they hit their stride. Around midseason they got hot. Yeah, ended up making the playoffs and then lost in the first round, 6 games to Toronto. But this year they might don't be surprised if they start off a little slow. Maybe on the outside looking in, but within a couple of points, then when they get Vasilevsky back, they kind of catch fire, and they move into the top 5, 6. And I'm ending up as like a 6 seed. This team is older. Obviously, they got some injury concerns. I think their run is pretty much done when it comes to winning Stanley Cups, but they're still going to good to make the playoffs. The Florida Panthers finishing in 7th. Of course, an incredible run to the Cup final last year as an 8 seed. And look, this team is phenomenal offensively. Barkov is phenomenal. Matthew Tkachuk is a stud. Very annoying to play against, but an absolutely amazing player. He can give you 40 goals. He's really tough. Carter Verhaeghe's really good. They got, Sam Bennett is a good player. This team is phenomenal. And Sergei Bobrovsky had a historically great postseason last year, still in his head. His first 2 years in Florida were awful, but in the last 2 years he's played a lot better. He's been very good. We got a young kid in Spencer Knight as your backup who I like. My issue is defensively, they're down to your probably 3, if not 2 best defensemen. Aaron Ekblad, who's an all-star, is injured throughout the year, as is Brendan Montour. So I don't love their set of defensemen, but you still have Josh Mahora's pretty good. You add Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who's pretty good, at least offensively. Mikola is a good old stay-at-home defender. So I think they'll score enough goals, and Bobrovsky will make enough. Will keep them in some games that they probably shouldn't be in, enough to where they can kind of hold down the fort and be in the playoff hunt. Once their defensemen come back, once Ekblad and Montour come back. Once they come back, I think they'll play a little better. I think they'll end up being a 7 seed. This East is very, very, very tough. 8 seed, I have the Boston Bruins. I don't expect anything from the Boston Bruins. Linus Ullmark, who won the Vezina last year, I don't think he'll do. I don't think he does that again. I still don't think firing Bruce Cassidy and then bringing in Jim Montgomery was a good move. Although I appreciate them giving Montgomery a second chance after he had the off-the-ice issues. I think he's a good coach. I think Cassidy's a phenomenal one. They lost so much. You lose Patrice Bergeron, who's obviously won 6 Selke trophies as the best defensive forward in hockey with 6 times. Their captain and one of their best players for God knows how many years. Losing him, that's a huge loss. Losing David Craig's the guy who could still play, and a veteran leader was there a long time. Losing him hurt. You lose Tyler Bertuzzi, who's a really good trade down pick up, a really good player. Taylor Hall's another veteran. You lose a lot of veterans. Marchand is the captain. I can't stand Marchand, but he's a phenomenal player. Pastrnak is an amazing player. He would have probably won MVP last year if it wasn't for Connor McDavid having a historically great year. DeBrusk pretty good, but their bottom 6 really isn't very good. Their top 6 is solid. Marchand, Pastrnak are great. Pavel Zacha's a good player. You have Van Riemsdyk, Charlie Coyle. But that bottom 6, the highlight of it is probably Trent Frederick. But they brought back Milan Lucic. T3 is there for leadership. He doesn't have much left in the tank. He hasn't been good in 6 years, to be honest. They're okay defensively. I like Matt Grzelcyk and McAvoy in that first pair. I like Brendan Carlo. Like Kevin Shacker, I don't know how much he has left. Hampus Lindholm's okay. But they won't be as good defensively. The goaltending team of Ullmark and Swayman's very good. Just their team is just kind of okay. They lost so much. I think just the veteran leadership, that they lost is going to hurt. And those guys that are still good players. Patrice Bergeron was still, a very good player. David Krejci was still a solid player. Bertuzzi is obviously he's a top 6 forward. And Taylor Hall is still a top 6 forward. But just they can't replicate what they did last year in the record. It's not possible. It's not even fair to hold them to that. Ullmark won't have the same year he did last year. The certain guys who had great years last year are going to regress a little bit. It's meant to happen. They're going to regress, but I think they'll sneak in. So as for teams that don't have making the playoffs, I had the Detroit Red Wings. I think the Red Wings are very talented. They got a lot of good young players. Lucas Raymond, they bring in Alex DeBrincat, who, coming off two straight 40-goal years. Last year in Iowa wasn't quite as good, but still a very good player. Dylan Larkin is phenomenal. So, so they have a lot of good young players. So I like their top six, David Perrin, but their bottom six I don't love. They have some young guys that they need to step up. A guy like, Klim Kostin, I like a lot. You still haven't seen him enough. You know, defensively, I don't think they're that great, to be honest. That's been their problem. I love Moritz Seider coming off a Calder Trophy, or maybe that was the year before. After that, Jake Wallman, Ben Chara, Jeff Petrie. It's just kind of okay. I like Huso. He's a pretty good goalie. I'm glad he's getting an opportunity to start. He was a backup in St. Louis for a while. Of course, we brought him in last year. I think he's got all the talent in the world. I think the best is still to come from him, but still, they're very young. I still think they're a work in progress defensively. Huso's a young goalie, so Detroit, not quite there yet. Then I have Ottawa. Ottawa could be a sleeper. They got a lot of good offensive talent. Brody Tkachuk is phenomenal. They got Drake Braverson's really good. Josh Norris. You bring in Tarasenko, still a solid player. Tim Stutzel's very good. They got, Shane Pinto's is a talented player, but, although their top six is phenomenal, they added Claude Giroux as well. But, so their bottom six, it kind of drops off a little bit. I don't love them defensively. Thomas Chabot is phenomenal. They bring in Jakob Chychr. I think he'll thrive getting out of that dumpster fire that is the Arizona Coyotes. The rest of it isn't great. Their goalie is Joonas Korpisalo. I think Joonas Korpisalo is a little overrated. When he has a good defense in front of him, he can be a solid goalie. But if not, I think he's just kind of not great. I think he's a little overrated. But he's fine. But I get custom in Detroit. They're very young. They're talented. They'll make improvements, but they're not there yet. Then I have the Buffalo Sabres. Same deal. They're really young. I love Tage Thompson. He's on my fantasy team for a reason. He is so freaking good. He's a 40-goal scorer. Casey Mills is a good young player. Victor Olofsson, Jordan Greenway. The team is loaded with young talent. Even Jeff Skinner, who's massively overpaid, but he's still a pretty good player and won't score 40 goals like he did a few years ago. But Rasmus Dahlin is a stud. They gave Owen Power a big extension. Those are both number one picks in the last few years. They're both really good. My concern, their goaltending is a major concern. Their goalies are. They have Devon Levy and Ukko, Pekka, Luukkonen, I think his name is. They're very young in net. I think that's going to hold them back again like it did last year. And again, just very, very young. Not quite there yet. I have the New York Islanders. Look, I don't mean to be biased. I promise I'm not trying to be biased. I promise. I try not to be biased. It can be hard at times as a diehard sports fan. That's every sports fan, but I try not to be. I don't expect a lot from the Islanders. Look, Ilya Sorokin is amazing. He's an amazing goalie. He is one of the 2 or 3 best goalies in the league. Only goalies even sitting at the same table as him are Igor Shesterkin and Andrei Vasilevsky. Maybe Connor Hellebuyck, but there's only 2 or 3 goalies that you can even put in the same conversation with Ilya Sorokin as the best goalie in hockey. And they're very good defensively. Adam Pelech and William Pulak are a great tandem. They're both really good. Scott Mayfield's pretty good, and Noah Dobson's great. I think Alex Romanov, you haven't seen a lot of him yet. I think the best is still to come from him. He's still really young. For the love of God, they cannot score. Their offense is pitiful. Anders Lee's a great player. Bo Horvat's really good. I love Barzal. That's about it. Brock Nelson's pretty good. He had a really good year last year. Outside of that, Pajot's solid. But then, Wallstrom's still young. Kyle Palmieri doesn't have much left. Pierre Engvall's fine. He's okay. Matt Martin, he's there for toughness. Casey Cizikas is always hurt. He's there, really to be a glue guy. He's there to kill penalties. Cal Clutterbuck, he's there to kill penalties and bring toughness. Hudson Fasching's still really young. I don't know how much. I'm not super high on him either. Until Lou Lamoriello gets out of there and they bring in a GM that will actually add to their offense every year with the Islanders. They cannot score enough goals. They tried last year at the trade deadline. I'll give Lou credit. He brings in Bo Horvat, who's a really good player. Gives him an 8-year extension. He brings in Pierre Engvall from Toronto. Have the bottom 6. It's not enough. They don't have enough goal scoring. And they're good defensively. They got a great goalie. But I just don't see it. I think it's the year where they realize this, the last couple years they've been, they've been awful offensively. They've been able to, be elite enough defensively and goaltending wise where they were able to just push their way into the 8th seed. Like last year, they were not going to make the playoffs before they made those trades to get Bo Horvat and Pierre Engvall to boost their offensive attack, and it still barely got them the 8th seed or 7th. So it got barely snuck them into the playoffs as the 7th seed. I don't think they're going to be able to make those moves like that again with deadline, and they're not going to have enough. And they again didn't add anybody major to their scoring attack. They're not that good. The Washington Capitals, I don't expect much from. Look, Ovechkin is amazing. He's going to pass Gretzky in goals, I think. He's amazing. Even in his late 30s, he's still a phenomenal player. Tom Olsen, I cannot stand, but he's a pretty good player. Oshie's good. Kuznetsov's good. Anthony Mantha's really good, but they're really young. Defensively, they're very inexperienced. Outside John Carlson. Nicholas Backstrom isn't the same player. This team is old. They're not good defensively. I like Darcy Kemper. He's a good goalie, but this team is old. They got some unproven guys. They got a couple of guys who just aren't the same. There are a couple of guys who are really young or very inexperienced. Don't expect a lot from them. They're a new young head coach. I don't expect a lot from the Capitals this year. With the Philadelphia Flyers, this team is awful. Sean Couturier's good, but I don't think he's the same player anymore. Kim Atkinson's pretty good. Farabee's a good young player. This team is awful. I think Carter Hart's a solid goalie. I do. Mark Stoll might be a top 4 defenseman. Great Ranger, but he is done. He's been a traffic cone for 4 years. His last years with the Rangers, he was a traffic cone in Detroit. He'll be a traffic cone in Philly. He's done. I still have Rasmus Ristolainen and maybe Travis Sanheim. There's nothing they have defensively. Sean Walker is eh. Offensively, nothing special about them. Torrell needs to retire. Good God. I don't know how he kept the job after all the stuff last year. And they think, you ran Kevin Hayes out of there. I don't think Kim Atkinson likes him either. I don't know why he's there. Good God. I know I'm not putting on the GM Danny Briere. He got thrown into a tough situation. The previous GM, I forgot his name. He's the guy who literally said, I use, an app to help me with trades. Okay, dude, leave. He got fired 2 weeks later. I wonder why. But this team is so bad. So bad. Then I had the Montreal Canadiens. They have some young guys I like. I like Andreas Slavkovsky was number 1 pick last year. Nick Suzuki's really good. Cole Caulfield's really good. Gallagher's still a solid player. But defensively, they're awful. They have awful goaltending. They have Sam Montembat, whatever his name is, and Jake Allen. They can't. Scoring wise, they might score a decent amount because they have a lot of exciting young players, but they can't keep the puck out there on that. And in last place in the conference, I have the Columbus Blue Jackets. They are a mess. They brought in Mike Babcock for 10 seconds. He gets there. All right, I guess he's getting a second chance. And then he goes to the players' phones and gets fired. They promote some assistant to head coach. They're a mess. Their team is awful. Johnny Gaudreau is a great player. Patrick Laine is really good. They have some young players I like Adam Fantilli. But they're really, really young. I like Elvis whatever his name is, Merzlikins, whatever his name is in that. But defensively, they're not great. They have been in years. Goaltending, I like Merzlikins, but they're a mess. They're not a good team. 2 years ago, when they they finished just from the outside looking in, that when the East was really tough, I thought they were making some progress. And then last year, they were the worst team in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, the team isn't good. They're always bad. So that's what I got for the Eastern Conference. Now let's go over to the Western Conference side. Finishing in first in the Western Conference, I have the Colorado Avalanche winning the Western Conference this year. You know, last year, of course, 2 years ago, they won the Cup. We're upset in the first round last year, but I know Gabriel Landeskog probably won't play again this year. But still, Miko Rantanen's a superstar. Nathan McKinnon's one of the 5 best hockey players. Ryan's one of the 10 best hockey players in the league. Valery Niskanen, whatever his name is, he's really good. Tomas Tatar's good. They bring in Johansson, who's a good leader, can still play a little bit. Defensively, Kel Makar is either him or Carlson for best defenseman in the league. Makar is amazing. I like Devin Taves, Bowen Byram, Samuel Girard. Alexander Georgiev in his first full-time starting goalie gig was really good last year. So I think their team is phenomenal. They should be first in the West. Finishing second in the Western Conference, I have the Dallas Stars. This team is really good. Jason Robertson is phenomenal, really underrated. He'll give you 40 goals. We got Rube Hintz, who's really good. Mason Marshman's good. Tyler Seguin and Jimmy Benner still there. They're still solid, even though they're older. Wyatt Johnson's a young player I like. You got a veteran in Pavelski. They got a really good mix of young players and older players. Ryan Suter is still a good player. Emil Heiskanen is phenomenal. Jake Ottinger's a really good young goalie. This is a really good team. Their GM last year won GM of the year. He's built a really good squad. I forgot his name. This is a really good team. They're really well put together, and they could be in for a deep playoff run. In third, I have the Vegas Golden Knights coming off a Stanley Cup victory, of course, defending champs. Not sure if they'll get back to the Cup. They're still a great team. Jonathan Marshall is incredible. Jack Eichel's phenomenal. Mark Stone is phenomenal. William Karlsson, they can score with anybody. They're solid defensively. Alec Martinez is really good. Petrangelo's great. Brady McNabb's one of the original Vegas Golden Knights. He's really good. I think goaltending will be fine. Aiden Hill played great in the playoffs last year, just stepping up. Logan Thompson was an all-star before he got hurt last year. It's still a really good team. You lose Robbie Smith, which I do think hurts the bottom six a lot, but they're still really good. I love Seattle Kraken finishing in fourth. This team, I think, will be really good this year. They got a really good mix of older players and younger players. Andre Burakovsky's really good. Jared McCann is broken out. If you have Jordan Eberle's really good. Jaden Schwartz, Yanni Gord's very good. Matty Biner's a really good young player. Vince Dunn at defenseman. Philip Grubauer is a great goalie. Still think they could be a little better defensively. I think it's some place they need to work on, but this team, in their second year as a team, they made the playoffs and they won a playoff series over the defending champs. So I think they might go even further this year. They're a very, very good team. In fifth in the West, I have the Minnesota Wild. Look, I'm sure they'll lose in the first round again. Every year, they're very, very good. Look like a dark horse cup contender, then lose in the first round. Curly Kaprizov is phenomenal. They got Matt Boldy, who's a good young player. Joel Erickson's really good. Ryan Hartman's good. They still have Matt Zuccarello, still a solid player. They're good defensively. They got Jared Bergeron. Goaltending, I'm a little worried about. It was really bad in the playoffs last year. Philip Gustafson and Marc-Andre Fleury. Fleury's one of the all-time great goalies, but not the same player anymore. Gustafson, I don't know how great he is. So they'll just be fine. I'll say that. In sixth, I have the Edmonton Oilers. Look, they got the best player in hockey in Connor McDavid. They have what I think is the second best player in hockey in Leon Draisaitl. Zach Hyman's very good. Ryan Nugent Hopkins, they could score. Like it is every year with Edmonton, defense and goaltending isn't good enough. Stuart Skins is a young guy who I like. They gave Jack Campbell a lot of money last year, coming off a really good year in Toronto, and he wasn't great. Stuart Skinner was kind of okay. The goaltending is kind of mediocre. Defensively, they aren't great. Toronto is a really good offensive defenseman, but he really isn't a good, defender. Matthias Ekholm's fine, but they don't really have any like defensemen. They have a couple that can score and move the puck. And I know, like in today's NHL, these defensemen they gotta be able to move the puck. They gotta be able to be a little more offensive minded, but you also gotta be be able to get back in your own zone and make plays. And they don't have really anybody that can do that. I have them in sixth. In seventh, I got the St. Louis Blues. You know, Buchnevich is phenomenal. The Jordan Kyrou, Brendan Saad, Braden Shen. It's Kasperi Kapanen. They bring in Kevin Hayes. That was a good move. Defensively, they're solid. I like Torrey Krug a lot. I like Nicoletti. He's pretty good. But Jordan Binnington is not that good. First years, he was so good. It was phenomenal. Got his bag and then just forgot how to play hockey. He's an absolute idiot, too. Attitude problem. Locker room mess. Credit Blue Bay squad is just kind of okay. But they're good enough to make the playoffs. 8 seed, I think will be the Nashville Predators. They had a great offseason. They bring in Ryan O'Reilly, who's a great player, a former Stanley Cup champion in St. Louis. Philip Forsberg is an amazing player. They got some young guys who I like. They definitely need to step up. Like Trennan and Cole Smith and Juuso Parssinen. Scott Roman Yovsky's amazing. Tyson Barrie's really good. Even Ryan McDonough is still solid. UC Saros is really good, but they're very young offensively. They might start to score some goals. And with UC Saros' free agency coming up, he's going to demand a big contract. Phil might be tempted to maybe trade him for a big haul. So that would definitely help them. Their backup is Kevin Lanigan, who isn't great, still young. But I think he'll sneaks into the playoffs. Obviously Gary Trotz will run the show. That's their GM. They got obviously a new regime there. On the outside looking in, I got the LA Kings. Look, Kings are really good offensively. Anze Kopitar is still great. Kevin Fiala is really good. Philip Deneau, Victor Arvidsson. They're bringing in Pierre-Luc Dubois. Of course, that big trade. They gave up a lot, but I thought he was worth it. Defensively, Doughty is still really good. Gavrikov's really good. But defensively, it was kind of okay. And the goaltending there was horrible. Their goalies are Phoenix Copley and Cam Talbot. This is a team that's going to go as far as their goaltending takes them. And I don't think it can take them very far. They're not going to make the playoffs. Then you got the Winnipeg Jets. They just locked up Connor Hellebuyck, was a great goalie, so kudos to them. And what was Mark Scheifele. Kyle Connor is a great player. Niedermeyer is really good. Getting Gabriel Velarde was a nice piece to get back for Luc Dubois, but he's still a big loss. Obviously, that relation was beyond repair. I like Alex Aflalo, but still, it won't match the production they got from Luc Dubois. They're not great defensively. I don't think they make the playoffs. They'll be they're going to be overmatched. Calgary Flames are going to a bit of a new era. Bringing in a new regime. I like Jacob Markstrom. He's a very good goalie, but didn't have a great year last year. Elias Holmes really good. Jonathan Huberdeau. On what happened last year from 115 points to 55 points, historic drop off. I like Nazem Kadri. But losing to Foley's a big loss. I like Sharon Gorich to get back for him from the Devils, but he won't match that production, at least not yet. Don't love their bottom 6. I don't think they're that good defensively either. I love Noah Hannafin and Rasmus Anderson in my top pair, but their other 2 pairings are kind of okay. If Markstrom gets hurt, their backup is Daniel Vladar, who hasn't played a lot of hockey. Calgary, they need a change, so it might take some time there. Got the Vancouver Canucks. What is going on there? I don't know what's happening. Brock Besser looked like a star a couple of years ago. Now he's very good, but not as good as we thought. I love Elias Pettersson. JT Miller's great. I like them getting it. Anthony Beauvillier for Horvat. I think I changed the story. Might do him well. They have some young guys who I think could be really good. Niles Hoglander, Pius Suter. But they're very young. Connor Garland probably is going to be traded soon. I love Quinn Hughes. They got some defensemen I like. Philip Perrant, Tyler Myers. I like Dr. Demko. But they're just a mess. Just a mess. I don't think they're going to be able to score a whole lot. They're not that good. Got then to finish off, the Chicago Blackhawks. Again, a mess after everything that's happened in the last couple years with that scandal. You got Connor Bedard, though. I think he's going to be a superstar. But the rest of that offense, no one scares me. Maybe Taylor Hall, but even he's older. They're not good defensively. They're very, very young. Peter Mrazek is older. He's not. I like him as a backup. I'm not sure if he's really a good starter. I do think that kid's Soderblom will take over the starting job at some point, but they're in a rebuild. They're in a, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what you call that team. It's gonna be a long rebuild on and off the ice. But the Anaheim Ducks, they're just awful. They got some young players that like Trevor Zegras is phenomenal. Troy Terry is great. He's a 40-goal scorer. And Mason McTavish, I like Ryan Strome. He's a solid player. But they're not great defensively. John Gibson has just been declining every single year. That contract is awful. They're not that good. And then the Arizona Coyotes, worst team in hockey. They're playing. They play in a college arena. That's all I need to know. The Clayton Keller is very good. I like Alex Kerfoot. Jason Zucker's pretty good. But they can't keep the puck out of their own net. Their starting goalie is, what's his name? Karel Vejmelka or something? He's not good. Defensively, they are awful. This team is awful. That's my NHL preview for the Stanley Cup. I'm going to take, I think the Carolina Hurricanes, last few years, they've been kind of close. I think they get it done this year. I think we win the Stanley Cup. I'll take the Hurricanes. I'll say that they knock off the Dallas Stars in the Stanley Cup final. That's all I got for you guys today. My show probably won't do tomorrow because I'm probably doing the Fire Squad tomorrow, but should be doing the show Friday. So stay tuned. Until next time, so long, and have a great day.